Are you what? Welcome to No Cap, man. Make sure my face is straight, man. It's almost time to go see the barber, but not quite yet. Not quite yet. What's new with y'all, man? How you feeling? How you living? How life treating you? I'll take time to answer, man. Cause not gonna lie, the weather gap, global warming like a muff, boy. Hey, hold on. Let me see if I can show people. You see that, man? High of 71, low of 29. 50-degree variance. Yeah, that sound like tornadoes and global warming, my dog. But, you know, folks don't believe in global warming. It ain't real. Shit, me. You find it out the hard way. And if it's one thing you don't want to do in life is find out anything the hard way. I know more. What you don't know can hurt you, will hurt you, does hurt you. But, man, had a crazy situation, right? I'm out, getting some exercise, running around, and find myself at a park. Get to the park, a bunch of people around. But there's one young lady that look at her, I'm like, oh, I like her hair. I vocally said that, led to a conversation, and conversation basically ended up turning into like a 2-hour talk about religion, in specific Christianity, right? Excuse me. Because a young lady was a devout Christian, talking, raised in it, quoting the Bible. Everything goes back to the Bible. First and foremost, let me check with this Bible first. And then as she started to explain her stance on religion, I was just offering counterpoints like, yeah, those two things that you're saying kind of contradict themselves. And the response was, but the word. I'm like, nah, that's just how it was interpreted and fed to you. It sounded like you was indoctrinated. What you just said was something that was kind of alarming and would be off-putting for somebody who wouldn't align themselves as Christian. And the more she dug in, the more the indoctrination started to show up, and the more propaganda she started to spew that she didn't really understand because it was covered and it was veiled. And I'm a devout Christian. Like, my belief in this thing is pure, so everything that I say and my perspective on this thing must be pure. And a lot of the things I was disagreeing with, but I wasn't verbally disagreeing with her like, nah, that ain't true, that ain't real, or nah, because her perspective, her experience, just offering counterpoints. What if, what about, maybe, just trying to give her more perspective on the things she was saying. And it was slowly starting to add up, and it was hitting her. But every time something would add up and hit her, instead of thinking it all the way through, she'd go back to, nah, and then like completely reset and go back to the word. I'm like, I see this ain't gonna go too far because you've been told something for so long that you processed it as the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God. But if you can't find a different perspective on things that you understand to be true, then your perspective is probably skewed, because one of the sayings is, what, 1,000 ways, 1,000,000 ways, more than one way to skin a cat. So if there's only one specific way to do something, as subjective as belief, it's probably 9 times out of like 9.1 times, there's a little bit of, a little something on there. And yeah, you can't be out here trying to cut it. And when you listen to people's perspective on a thing, you can like, oh yeah, I can tell it's been cut, because when something is pure and uncut, there's a million ways to go about proving that it's real and uncut, and each one of them is gonna let you know that this is real and uncut. But when something is cut, you gotta walk that fine line to make it make sense, if that makes sense. But I don't judge folks for what they believe, for what they think. It just is what it is. But during conversations, I hit a point where I was like, yeah, she ain't ready to learn or ready to grow within her faith or grow within her understanding or perspective of life, neither. So all I could do was offer these opportunities to consider another perspective, and whether she pick it up or not, it's going to be on her. It was nice meeting her, but what happens after that is completely on her. And the same thing goes for my approach to relationships, right? And that's the title. X marks the spot. Because while you're on your journey of life, unless you a twin or triplet or along the lines of multiple babies at one time, you come into this life alone. You traverse through a lot of experiences alone. Married or not, you still have to live your life independently. You don't go everywhere 24/7 with other people or with a specific other person. Excuse me. So a lot of stuff you do is going to be on your own. And with that being the case, each individual has their own journey in life. We got our own starting point. We got our own ending point. And along that line, in order to live the highest quality of life you can, you just want to find as much perpendicular correlation with others as you can. Even though you walk in your own journey, to be able to walk beside other people on the way to their journey as well is what makes life feel like it's worth living. But with that being the case, when people are walking their own journey, you could be walking side by side for 3 blocks, and then they make a left and you make a right. And at that point, you go in your own directions. Relationships work the exact same way. Sometimes you meet people for a reason. Sometimes you meet people for a season. Everything isn't forever. A lot of things aren't forever. Some things are for what you need in that situation you're in right now. So in romantic relationships, there are certain points where you just like, all right, cool. Yeah, we can't head toward the same goals, so we're gonna have to go our own ways. But there reaches a point, or you can reach a point where there is no going your separate way, like marriage or reproduction. At that point, you pretty much tied each other to the hip, and you going on that walk together until one of y'all reaches your destination, or both of y'all. So serious, like biological contracts like that and spiritual contracts, those are ones that say, all right, even in religion, they say the two become one. So it's one person or it's one entity making that journey. You don't always stop at the same time, but you consider it one. So that's the only exemption I see from relationships ending, and that's just being that. So kind of tells you my perspective on co-parenting. Ain't no such thing. When you fracture the household like that, you splinter a child's development. And there's other episodes, a no cap, that you can go through to see the results of that. But instead of being one unit, you end up being 3 different units. It's yours, it's hers, and then it's the child's. And each one of y'all fending for yourself with whatever resources you have at that moment. And the child has the least amount of resources because they supposed to get theirs from y'all too. But y'all doing your own thing. So it's one of them situations where you really shouldn't be splintering once you become one. Marriage the same way. Divorce is not really. Yeah, you've agreed that you both going on a journey together, 2 becoming one, and kids come up underneath that, and all kind of networking and connection and growth in life comes together. Once you splinter that, you splinter life. And so before you make any of those serious decisions, figure out whatever the you doing, what you trying to do, what they trying to do, what are y'all trying to do. Because once you start signing contracts, spiritual contracts, that's what it looks like when you sign yourself over to death row. So if you ain't got to, don't do it. But getting back to like the normalcy of it all, most relationships end. That's just the unfortunate fact about it. Man, a lot of people, they high school sweetheart ain't seen in years. The girl they dated in college ain't seen in years. The girl you had a crush on in elementary school don't even know if she's still alive today. Because the people that are in your proximity are who you interact with. And when you change your proximity and your location, you change who you connecting with. And changing proximity typically means that you're trying to increase the quality of your life. And when you increase the quality of your life, that affects everything. Your habits, your thought process, who you interact with, your goals, your morals, the foundation of your being, what's important to you, all of that's change as you try to level up. So in relationships, when you're trying to level up and you with somebody who isn't or refuses to or won't or don't, you gotta leave them where they at. Because again, you are here for a reason. Once you figure out what you're here for, you can't allow anybody to hold you back from that, which is why it's important to wait to find somebody that's going to assist you or collaborate with you or support you in your journey before you start making serious ass decisions like having kids. But back to the main point. Like sometimes you just gotta wait it out, and you gotta really ask the real questions, right? But a lot of that comes with self-understanding. Like, who am I? What am I doing? What are my goals? Where am I coming from? What do I come from? What am I headed towards? What am I headed towards? You got to repeatedly say that. All right, what am I headed towards? You got to constantly remind yourself, because you're constantly trying to figure out what fits and what don't fit. The things that don't fit in got to fit out. And it seems like wordplay, but it really is just all as simple as I have my finish line in mind. I have my starting place in mind. I'm trying to take the most efficient route to get where I need to go. Folks are either going to assist you in getting in that direction, or they're going to be weights pulling you back, keeping you from getting your destination. And that X, that designates the spot where you got to cut them weights loose and let it go. Even folks that you love or folk that love you, where there's positivity, you don't even have to disagree. It can be, it's all love. We appreciate each other. We enjoy being around each other. Nothing but good vibes. They're supportive, but they can't assist me into getting where I'm trying to go. Your favorite high school teacher is not going to be your professor if you're trying to get a PhD. Your favorite youth sports coach is not going to assist you if you're trying to get to the NBA. That's your youth sports coach. Each level, you got to meet new people. And You got to learn that spot we're leaving behind. And the thing about exiting relationships, because the X is for exiting, is romantic relationships are hard, but it's still biologically in you to want to find a mate. So you can go through heartache, you can go through pain, you can go through trauma. You're still going to want to find the person or people, don't know your lifestyle, that are meant to assist you into getting where you want to go. If that's a family, you can have a mean breakup with the girl you thought was the love of your life. Once you go through the trauma and you heal and you find your sense of self-awareness from that moment, from that experience, you're going to ease back into, all right, here's my goal. I got to find somebody that actually fits the situation. And intimate relationships ending is one thing, but ending a friendship relationship, even tougher, arguably, from my perspective, right? Because there are billions of people in the world in the opposite sex to pick and choose from, to interact with, to get to know, to get to understand for dating purposes. There are multiple different ways to go about dating. Some people arrange marriages, blind dates, things that are out of their control. Just, hey, this is how it works. We're just going to do it. Friendship is different. You can be close to people for a while and never become friends. You're more likely to date somebody out of proximity than you are to develop true friendship out of proximity. Because the unfortunate thing about connection, right, is you're less likely want to bring your friends on the ride as you are a spouse. But your friends are more likely to be collaborative in your life than anybody else, because that's the folk you're more comfortable with typically. More likely to tell your secrets to. More likely to bond with, because your bonding isn't over intimacy of the romantic nature. It's not, man, I like you, you like me, I'm hormonal about this. No, it's, man, you a cool ass dude, you a cool ass chick, you helping maintain or uplift the environment around here. It's not a hormonal decision, or it's not as much of a hormonal decision to hang around you, but the vibes is right. Like, making friends, especially as adults, gets harder, but dating as an adult, really easy. You know how to do it. A lot of adults do not know how to make friends, because it's not just in you to make friends. It's not, hey, I sit here, they sit here, we're now friends. As an adult. As kids, even still, you have to operate on a certain wavelength in order to make friends. And adults tend to lose touch with that ability. Dating, you got some kind of chemical or hormone that you're releasing that I am attracted to, and I mess with that. What is the friendship hormone? I ain't never heard of it. It's probably one where you enjoying somebody's company and there's a hormonal release, not quite dopamine, but maybe one, but haven't heard of it yet. And leaving friends behind is a tough situation, because when you end a intimate relationship, majority of the time, folks completely disengage, and then you go about your life, I go about my life. But when you disengage from a friendship, oftentimes it isn't because you fell out. It's simply because you grew out. So it's like, dang, do I still consider you a friend? Are we no longer friends? Are we associates now? Do we no longer communicate at all? How does this work? Because we were friends during this time period, during this stage of life, but one of us, or maybe both of us, have grown and graduate into the next stage of life, but we at different stages now. So you're a former friend. It's hard to really quantify or qualify either or what that looks like. So it's not really taught to anybody how to disengage from relationships like that. A lot of folk don't go about teaching you, hey, here's how you break up with somebody. A lot of parents don't tell you, hey, this is how you break up with somebody. A lot of your friends don't tell you how to break up with somebody. They just go, just end it. But who tells you how to end friendships? It's tough. And because it's so tough to do, it's tough to disengage. It's hard to process. It's like, dang, we interacted well. We were cool with each other. Everything felt good, friendship wise. Like having that support system, that network, that circle, it felt good. But now I'm heading in another direction and my circle only keeps rotating on this one level and I'm trying to get to the next one. It's almost like a sense of survivor's remorse, or where I'm trying to graduate to something else and I feel bad that I have to leave this group or leave this person or leave these people in order for me to go along to my next stage of my life. And it's so difficult. It's so tough that often people would rather subdue their own potential and they'll rather cast aside their own personal goals than cast aside friendships. Like, I know a lot of men who, one became a father, like, dang, he's starting a family. His girl don't really want him hanging around us as single dudes no more. Shoot, I'm gonna start a family too so our kids can grow up together so we can hang out together. And on the other end, I've seen girls who, girl is a single mother. It's her and her daughter. All she focuses on is being the best mother she can. Everything with her is about kids, and we don't have kids, so can't connect with you on that level. So shoot, I'm gonna go have kids, so now we can connect on that level too. Like, it's folks who will legit sabotage their own potential in order to maintain friendships rather than learn how to grow out or how to disengage from friendships. And it's not taught and it's not popularized, but at some point somebody's got to teach folk, how do you disengage from connections that aren't like toxic or negative? Because when it's negative or toxic, it's, and I can point the finger at you and let go. It's easier for me to let go because I'm not getting anything from this, or it's negatively impacting me. It's easier to respond to negativity than it is to positivity, and because it feels negative. You've done everything to be a good friend, but the friendship is limiting my ability to grow. So how do I communicate that without coming off as rude or as a bad friend or as negative? It's a conversation that, man, it goes unspoken about, and it's tough to really. So a lot of people just don't have a conversation. Like with social media, a lot of people stay connected, but they don't stay engaged. So at whatever stage of life I meet you, we can connect on social media, but at a certain point in life, I see you less. I speak to you less. I engage with you less. I'm even less knowledgeable about what's going on in your life because with algorithms and whatnot, with the algorithms and whatnot, you're not popping up in my feed or on posts anymore. So you're not even in my conscience. And then it happens, and you just like, dang, or you get some kind of stimuli that the person pops up like, dang, oh snap, haven't seen that name in forever, haven't heard that name in forever, haven't talked to that person in forever. Dang, I'm gonna talk to him like we still cool, but that's a completely different person now. Years can go past where you friends or follow somebody on social media between when you actually meet and engage with them and the next time you actually meet and engage with them. And with social media, a lot of folks still engage with that person the same way they would have when they initially met. And like, man, that's not the same person. Every day you wake up, you change just a little bit. So when you're interacting with this person, this is a completely new person. So you can't interact with them the same because it feels different, because it is different. So how do I interact with you now? And that's one of the things that happens when you never get closure in the first place. I never knew how to disengage from this friendship. So now we're in an awkward space. And then if we ever interact with each other again, our interactions are awkward because we're not as close as we used to be, but we never addressed where the direction of our interaction was headed. It's a tough situation to live through, bro. And it's a tough interaction to have, but in our reality, at some point we got to address these things. And my only advice for folks to even take is you got to be transparent. Here's who I am. Here's where I'm at. Here's where I'm from. Here's what I like in romantic relationships and in like platonic relationships. Because once you're transparent, it's easy to go, all right, here are the things that we have in common. Here's why we're interacting. That way, when you disengage, you can go, all right, let me update this information. Here's who I am. Here's where I'm going. Here's what I want. And here are the things I'm now interested in. And then when you can go back and forth between the conversation, you can go, we don't have too much in common anymore. I can wish you well in your endeavors. And then we can amicably split from either or kind of relationship. And you can grow without any kind of guilt or any pressure from whatever situation, whatever connection you used to have. I'm headed toward that. He's headed toward this. She's headed over there for that. The time we spent together, we appreciated it. We communicated that we're now headed in different directions. So it's not awkward when we re-engage. It's, dang, you were doing this. Where you at now? You were doing this, and that. There was a exit point, which is also an entry point whenever you re-engage. But if you never have that conversation to closure, there is no exit point. So re-engaging is awkward. I've had that happen to me before. I'm just like somebody I used to hang with in high school. Like, dang, bro. We used to hoop. When last time you hooped? Man, I ain't hooped in like 7 years, bro. Damn, what you, dang. How your mama? My mama passed, man. Damn. What you do now? Smoke and shoot pool. I don't smoke or shoot pool. Well, dang, bro, it was nice to hear from you. Hope things are going well for you. And there's the awkwardness of, I don't really know how to approach you because never really had that closure, never really had a conversation. It's just one of us is up and left. One of us ghosted the relationship. And when you're doing that, X marks the spot, but on your map of life, you didn't mark that down. So when you looking back at where you been and you getting reminded through memories of new stimuli that reminds you of the memories, it's like, dang, at some point around here, we connected, but I just can't figure out where we were when that happened. So there's no easy way or logical way to re-engage with that part of your life or those people from that part of your life. And that's tough. It's real tough, but we got to start teaching people it's okay to amicably split friendships and relationships as long as you don't get too invested. Because once you get too invested, you're going to take a loss. It might not be your loss, but somebody's going to lose, and it's going to be drastic. So understand the weight of these contracts of, all right, once we're together, because now we're both heading in this direction. And once you split, you get half the ship, I get half the ship. Now, neither one of us can sail to where we need to get, because, and then the treasure that we picked up along the way sunk to the bottom of the sea. And the treasure could be your kids. Kids is drowning in life because you made a split and destroyed the ship, and it was supposed to be lasting until the end of your journey. You got to understand the weight of the connections that you're making, of the contracts that you signing, either spiritually or literally, because at some point in time, it's going to come back up. You have to understand the weight of those contracts and keep your hands clean of those contracts, because you got to understand how to engage and re-engage in just everyday relationships and interactions, everyday connections. And unfortunate part is folks are more likely to split from a heavily vested connection than they are from a slight connection. You're more likely to see somebody co-parenting with somebody they plan to spend the rest of their life with, or never plan to spend the rest of their life with, they just reproduce with, than they are to break up with their friends. Your friends have always been your friends the entirety of your life, but the person you reproduce with, you spent the least amount of time with. It's going to bite you in the ass. The person that you married, you divorced them, but you never divorced your friends. It's a sad, sad story, but proof is in the pudding, man. It's right there. But before I end the show, man, gotta address something else. Watching basketball, of course. This anime been doing me bad. That one episode a week stuff, boy, it's a slow grind. So I just been letting it all just marinate, not watching nothing. So watching sports. Started off watching the Celtics versus the Spurs. Yeah, that game was pretty much trash by the end of the second quarter because referees ejected Jaylen Brown. It's kind of messed up that all of these things just coincidentally happened to the one black dude who spoke against Nike. The one, like, black excellence, black and I'm proud, African American is the one that goes through all these trials and tribulations, but man, stand with, bro. Whatever he doing, I'm with, because that's an intelligent brother making intelligent decisions. But I ain't gonna lie, he got ejected. I cut that shit off. Went to the next game. I forgot what I was doing. I got on Bleacher Report, maybe. I was like scrolling. Bam Adebayo got 42 points. He had 43 points at halftime. I'm like, heck, man, cut that game right on. By the time I cut it on, third quarter, he cooking still. I'm like, man, he is going crazy. How does he have this many points? Then realize Khalil Ware, big off the bench, so his backup, out. Tyler Hero, out. Norman Powell, out. What's that? 3 of their top 5, 3 of their top 4 scores out. Man, he in the game chucking. I mean, letting that thing go. Like, I'm like, yeah, it's about to be one of them games. I can already tell. He get to 50. All right, bet he going. He get to 60. He got to 62. By the time he got to 62, I'm like, oh my God. This is nuts. And I see Eric Spoelstra. Everybody needs an Eric Spoelstra in their life. Somebody that's going to hype you up and do everything they can to get you to the next level. Want you to succeed by any means necessary. Everybody needs one of them. Especially if it's a mentor, an elder, a grandparent, a parent, or somebody from authoritative position or a respected position. Everybody needs one of them. He tired as hell, and he 62. He tired as shit. Spoelstra leaving him in. All right, nah, we ain't playing that. Get to 70. Like, man, this dude got 70 points. At and 1, 73. I'm like, oh yeah, he beating that Kobe record. Wizards are still the Wizards. They doing everything they can to get him to that record because they fouling him in ways that don't even make sense. Like, he probably done missed 5 threes in a row. If I'm them, I'm just going to stand back. He tired. He can't shoot. They do the exact opposite. We going to play you close, and we going to try to stop you, who's bigger and stronger than all of us, from getting to the rim. And I don't know what happened to Alex Sarr, but Alex Sarr, I don't think he played the entire second half. They had Anthony Gill and Will Riley in the game. Neither one of them can play with Bam. And Bam's not even the biggest center. He may be 6'9", 6'10". They got 2 guys who's smaller than him trying to guard him. So he going, and they fouling him. He going. He get to 80. You get to 83. Game finally in, right? I'm watching. I'm like, man, his previous career high was 41 points. He had that at halftime, doubled that in the second half, and finished with 83 points. Bam Adebayo. He's a great player, two-way player, but he's not a scorer. Bam might average 18 points a game. Rebound, versatility, pass the ball, defend all 5 positions. He's known for that. To allow that man whose previous high was 41 to score 83. That's everything you need to know about the Wizards. But the part that I saw coming, but I hated that I saw it coming, was folks trying to shit on him the day after. That's shameful. And it's folks in the media, athletes, celebrities, entertainers that do podcasts that are all trying to shit on him. Like, yeah, it wasn't Kobe's though. He didn't even need that. He was stat padding. The same people who used to complain about the media and journalists and newspaper articles that used to like slander athletes, the same people who used to complain about those outlets spewing the same kind of propaganda, these folks all doing the same thing for clicks. I'm like, that's some of the weakest shit I've ever seen in my life. If you have an opportunity to place your name in history, 99 out of 100 people are going to allow themselves to accomplish that feat. Especially when you place in a position where it's either you make history or you fail. I don't know anybody who's just going to choose failure. At a certain point in the game, they was up comfortably, but by that time, he already had a career high and a franchise high. You already at the effort stage of the game. And to tell other people how to act when they have the opportunity to chase history is disrespectful. So to hear people making excuses, but Kobe did it when he needed it, that make it less impressive to me. It was required of you. Your competition was getting at you that bad that you had to keep going. Nah, it's more impressive when I'm doing this just because I feel like it. The same people who complaining about how Bam did it versus how Kobe did it, the same people who like, man, I'd rather you come up with a clutch play, win it in overtime, hit a buzzer beater, win game 7. I'm not that type. If you can beat if you can sweep them, you can blow them out, do that. I'm telling you, 50-7 in football looks way better than 24-21. It just do. There's no way around it. It just do. A blowout looks so much better than a last-second comeback. The Pittsburgh Steelers beat the Arizona Cardinals in the Super Bowl. Last-minute toe-tap touchdown. Remember the moment from Santonio Holmes. Ben Roethlisberger putting the ball where only he can get it. That toe-tap was crazy. That game was not more impressive than what the Seahawks did to Peyton Manning's Broncos. Put foots in them. Score 45 to who cares? Blowout. Look at how folks treat the Seahawks, Legion of Boom, compared to how they treat that Steelers team. Both teams went to 2 Super Bowls, won 1, lost 1. But that Seahawks team gets talked about a lot more than that Steelers team do. because that blowout looked better historically. The San Antonio Spurs swept the Cleveland Cavaliers. 4-0. Did them bad. People are always going to remember that. That clings to LeBron heavily. Badly. It don't matter what he did. He beat Golden State coming down from 3-1 in a game 7. That game 7 win over Golden State, it isn't as powerful as getting swept. The blowout always looks better. So if you dominating and you choosing to dominate, more kudos to you. Cuz did take 43 shots and 43 free throws though, and I'm like, yo, that's crazy, because Jaylen Brown was getting kicked out of the game for complaining about not getting foul calls. Jaylen Brown might get 43 free throws in a month. Bam got that in one night. That is crazy. But to hear folk try to discourage his performance or try to undercut it, it's disrespectful, man. Kobe did what he did in his time. Bam did what he did in his time. Ain't no problem with that. And it better not be no LeBron James supporters that say that. Anybody who supports the modern day NBA and says the modern day athlete is bigger, stronger, faster, more skilled, you better not be complaining about what Bam did. Because Kobe is old NBA now. And if they bigger, stronger, faster, that means Bam's performance is an upgrade from what Kobe did. Don't be inconsistent, man. Remember, you got to remember where the game is headed and where the game started at. You got to remove yourself from what you thought it was. And you got to keep moving toward where it's headed too. Because if you being biased in your conversation, that means at some point in time you didn't have a ethical conversation with yourself on where things stand and where they headed. You didn't really break up with that subjective thought or that subjective perspective that you had on how things were supposed to work back then. New time, new place, new people, man. So stop living in the past and move on to the next thing. Leave the past where it's at, man. X marks the spot.